The Mentalist was one of the best procedurals of all time. Sharp writing, iconic characters, and one of the most iconic leads ever. But out of 151 episodes, only a handful reached true greatness. So I asked the Mentalist subreddit, which episodes do fans like most? And the answers lined up surprisingly well with my own. These aren't just good episodes, they're the ones that define what made the Mentalist special. Here are, in my opinion, the best episodes of the entire series. If you ask longtime fans when the Mentalist peaked, a huge chunk of them will point to this episode, Strawberries and Cream Part 2. This is where the Red John storyline should have ended, according to many on the subreddit. And honestly, I agree. Jane walks into that mall, sits down across from the man he believes is Red John, and later on pulls the trigger. No hesitation, no games. The buildup was electric, the dialogue was razor sharp, and Bruno Heller gave us a masterclass in tension. This was the payoff we'd been waiting for. After 3 full seasons of taunts, mind games, and bodies with smiley faces, Jane finally gets his revenge. Or so we think. What makes this episode so impactful is that it could have been the series finale, and it would have worked. The twist with O'Laughlin, the betrayal, the bomb plot, and that final shot of Jane calmly sipping tea before the credits roll, that's art. Plenty of fans think the show lost some of its magic after this point. If the Red John arc had ended here and the series pivoted to Jane learning to live with what he'd done, it could have been legendary. Even if it didn't stick the landing long term, this episode by itself is damn near flawless. Red Sails in the Sunset is one of the most daring and morally complex episodes in the entire series. It opens with Jane pulling off an illegal, high-risk prison break just to get Lorelai Martins out of federal custody. He doesn't loop in the team, doesn't ask permission, he fakes a court order, manipulates Homeland Security, and engineers a full-blown escape, all in service of getting closer to Red John. It's reckless, brilliant, and pure Jane. What makes this episode so gripping is how it blurs the line between manipulation and sincerity. Jane tells Lorelai her sister's death wasn't an accident, but a cover-up by Red John, forcing her to question her loyalty. For once, he's not just baiting a criminal, he's trying to wake someone up. Fans on the subreddit praised this episode for pushing the Red John arc forward in a way that felt fresh and unpredictable. And I fully agree. The chemistry between Jane and Lorelai is loaded with tension, distrust, and buried pain. You're never sure if Jane is in control or if he's walking into a trap. Add in Homeland Security and the beautifully bleak desert setting, and you've got one of the most layered episodes in the entire series. Jane is at his most desperate here, but also his most human. It's not just about catching a killer anymore, it's about exposing the rot underneath the system. This episode proves the Mentalist could hit hard without ever firing a shot. Blinking Red Light might be the most chilling episode The Mentalist ever aired, and in my opinion, it's the best one in the entire series. It introduces James Panzer, a charismatic true crime blogger who turns out to be a narcissistic serial killer. From the very beginning, Panzer thinks he's untouchable. He craves attention, plays with the media, and even sits down for a live interview with Jane, thinking he's the smartest person in the room. But what follows is one of the most cold-blooded takedowns in the entire show. Jane doesn't trap him with evidence or police work. He dismantles Panzer's ego on live television. It's a psychological unmasking. This is Jane using manipulation as a weapon, and it's terrifyingly effective. Subreddit fans mentioned getting goosebumps from this one, and I completely agree. The tension is slow burning but relentless, and the final scene leaves you sitting in silence. There's one moment in this episode that absolutely haunts me. Jane is standing in Panzer's apartment, silently looking around, and What a Wonderful World starts playing. The irony of that song playing softly over a scene so heavy hits like a gut punch, and then it happens. Panzer turns and looks at Jane. They lock eyes, and neither of them says a word. It's one of the most chilling wordless exchanges in the entire series. I just got chills while writing this script. No action, no confrontation, just pure understanding between two predators who've recognized each other. In that instant, Jane knows exactly who Panzer is, and Panzer knows that Jane knows. The way the music swells as they stare each other down, it's perfection. That single moment says more than a monologue ever could. It's episodes like this that remind you Jane isn't a hero in the traditional sense. He's a man who's been broken by grief and shaped into something dangerously clever. Watching him take down Panzer without laying a finger on him is thrilling, but it's also a little disturbing, and that's what makes it so damn good. The pilot episode is where everything starts, and it wastes no time showing you that The Mentalist isn't your average procedural. Patrick Jane arrives at a crime scene involving the murder of a teenage girl, and within minutes, he's completely flipped the investigation on its head. He exposes family secrets, manipulates witnesses, and frustrates the entire CBI team, all while staying 2 steps ahead. This episode introduces Jane not just as clever, but as someone dangerous with nothing to lose. The beauty of the pilot is in its tone. It feels light and procedural on the surface, but there's grief burning underneath every scene Jane's in. Jane admits that he used to be a fake psychic who mocked Red John on TV, and that his wife and daughter were murdered. That instantly reframes everything you thought about him. The show doesn't rely on flashy editing or huge twists. It gives you a character you can't stop watching. Fans still rank this episode among the best, and I agree. It's sharp, confident, and hauntingly sad. It tells you exactly what this show is going to be about, not just solving crimes, but watching one man try and fail to outrun the ghost that destroyed his life. Red Dawn is a fan favorite for good reason. It's the origin story. This episode takes us back to the moment Patrick Jane first walked into the CBI building and changed everything. At this point, Jane is freshly traumatized, unshaven, and entirely alone. He's not wearing his trademark vest, and he doesn't have the charm or confidence we're used to. What we see instead is a grieving father who's desperate for meaning and already thinking 5 moves ahead. After manipulating a CBI agent to hit him in the face, the head of CBI decides to give Jane a chance, despite knowing he's a wild card. Throughout the episode, we watch Jane apply his mentalist skills in a raw, unrefined way. He's abrasive, unstable, and completely uninterested in rules, but the brilliance is undeniable. Fans on the subreddit praise this episode for showing us a version of Jane before the armor went up. Red Dawn doesn't glorify his pain, it just lets us sit in it. And that makes it one of the most important and best episodes of the entire series. My Bloody Valentine is one of those episodes that quietly punches you in the chest. It opens with the murder of the son of a powerful crime boss. The case unfolds alongside a tense B-plot. Van Pelt is ambushed while escorting a witness named John Penn, and the two are stranded in the woods with a hitman on their trail. Van Pelt, still grieving the betrayal and death of her ex-fiancé O'Laughlin, begins to hallucinate his presence during her time in the woods. Those moments are quiet but heavy. She's trying to move on, but her trauma still lingers. Meanwhile, Jane stages an elaborate ruse to extract the truth from Perchito's inner circle. He fakes Perchito's death using a squash ball trick, then corners Ned, the right-hand man, into revealing everything. The confession comes not from brute force, but through psychological pressure. Classic Jane. Subreddit fans mentioned this episode for its intensity and emotional depth, and I see why. It's about betrayal, grief, legacy, and trying to survive when the past won't let go. My Bloody Valentine isn't flashy, but it's calculated, dark, and quietly devastating. The Red Mile stands out not because of its case, but because of its ending, one of the most emotional and quietly devastating moments in the entire show. The episode begins with the bizarre murder of Timothy Hartley, a man who believed he had been abducted by aliens. His body is stolen mid-transport, leading the CBI team into a black market operation involving stolen corpses and fake medical paperwork. But beneath the surface, the real story here is Steiner, the county coroner who insists on tagging along for the investigation. Steiner is sarcastic, intense, and immediately clashes with Jane. But as the case unfolds, the two form an unlikely connection. We eventually learn Steiner is dying of an incurable illness, and rather than waste away, he wants his final days to mean something. He joins Jane not for justice, but for excitement, for one last moment of relevance. Jane plays along, even involving Steiner in one of his classic stings to lure out the killer. But it's the final scene that makes this episode unforgettable. Steiner invites Jane to his home and asks him to stay while he takes his own life, quietly, legally, and on his own terms. At first, Jane refuses. He's shaken, but he understands. He prepares tea. They sit across from each other, and Jane performs a simple coin trick to calm him down. It's there, and then it's gone. As Steiner slips away, Jane sits in silence. No dialogue, just the weight of it all. Fans often overlook this episode, but I absolutely love it, and the ending hits like a freight train. It's about control, mortality, and the quiet grace of choosing how your story ends. Devil's Cherry is one of the most surreal and emotionally gutting episodes of The Mentalist. It begins with a murder investigation. Diamond Cutter is found gruesomely killed in his home, but things quickly spiral into something much deeper. While searching the kitchen, Jane unknowingly drinks tea laced with belladonna, a powerful hallucinogen. What follows is a journey through his subconscious as he begins seeing and interacting with Charlotte, his long-deceased daughter. Charlotte isn't a memory. She's a fully realized presence. She questions him, teases him, challenges his obsession with Red John, and for once, he lets his guard down. While Lisbon and the team pursue the case involving missing diamonds and family betrayal, Jane is locked in a mental and emotional struggle. Charlotte is clever and kind, but she's also a mirror showing him what he's lost and what he refuses to let go of. In the final act, Charlotte helps Jane solve the case, then quietly says goodbye. Back in his loft, Jane sits alone, carefully placing belladonna leaves into a tea filter. He drinks just enough for one more hallucination. That final moment with no dialogue says everything. I love this episode so much, it never fails to make me tear up. Devil's Cherry isn't about the case, it's about grief, memory, and the ache of holding on. And that's the list. I know there are way more episodes that are so good, especially some of the Brett Stiles episodes, but I just can't include them all here. There are just some of my and fans' favorites. If you want me to cover any other characters or topics, let me know in the comments. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.